Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new video. Welcome back to the Robbie Basel Show here on Give 'em Five. Robbie Basel here, back at it again. You know, first of all, thank you guys for all of you who tuned into the game on Saturday. I know it wasn't the best game, especially with me doing it alone, Ohio State, Indiana. But appreciate all of you. It was a up and down game, I would say. Not the game we were all hoping for. We were hoping for probably a little bit more in the end, but yeah, it was an okay stream. Over 300 viewers now. So appreciate everyone who tuned in. It wasn't as good as the first one, but we weren't expecting it to be as good as the first one, getting over 2.7, almost 2.7K views. Just absurd. And also shout out to everyone. We have now reached 60 subscribers for the channel. Appreciate all of you for that as well. But what are we talking about now that I've launched Footy Fridays, which hopefully you guys can check out that first episode. What's the direction of this show going to be? More in-depth soccer and NFL analysis will be coming for the most part on the Friday show. Here, we'll do a brief overview, maybe tag one storyline instead of like the 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 that we'd cover on Footy Fridays for each sport. So we go over the big result. If there was something to talk about that was notable, which there is, that will be focused more on the middle back half of the video. We'll talk about the NBA today, the NHL. That's what we're going to be, our main focus today will be on. Then later, we'll talk about the NFL and the Premier League and the Champions League fixture list. That's going to be very interesting itself. So, and also Formula One's back. So if you're excited for that, hit the like button and subscribe would be greatly appreciated. Let's start with one of those sports, and that is the NBA. What were the crazy results? Mainly from the weekend. And there wasn't a lot to focus on. But I want to focus on the New York Knicks. They played a fantastic game last night. 145-118. OG Anunoby, 40-point game for OG. How about that? Pretty good showing from OG Anunoby. Karl Anthony Towns, 30 and 15. That's what you're hoping for. That's what you're hoping to get after you traded Julius Randle and more for a star like Karl Anthony Towns, 30 and 15. Very good showing against a pretty solid Denver Nuggets squad. Off the bench, they had 2 double-digit scores. Did a solid game from Jalen Brunson. He had 23. So you had a variety of scoring. You had 7 double-digit scorers on the squad. Then you go and you beat a Nuggets team by almost 30. A team that had Russell Westbrook cook off the bench, 27 off the bench for Russ, but it was not enough. He was the leading scorer for the Nuggets today, well, last night. Jokic at 22, Murray at 20, Michael Porter Jr. at 18. But other than that, other than Westbrook and those 3, no one did anything. That was the one thing when we talked about the Denver Nuggets in the beginning of the season. Can the depth come out and really help out the starters or the key players? It's been yes and no. It's been a little on and off, but the Denver Nuggets, they're 9-7. They're not in a bad position if they were in the East. But because they're in the West, it's a little bit more challenging, we'll say. Because of that loss, they have now dropped to 8th and into a play-in spot, and everyone above them has double-digit wins already. If you had that 9-7 record in the East, you would be the 5 seed. There's only 4 double-digit win teams in the East, and in the West, there are 7 of them. And because of win percentage, the Nuggets are ahead of one of those teams, and that would be the Dallas Mavericks. The Nuggets I think, are in an okay position, like I said. But like I've said in the beginning of the season, like I'm saying it now, their depth needs to help the starters. If they do not get reliable depth from this group, they will be in significant trouble. I've said that about them before. I'll say it about them again. If the depth does not come out and help supply the offense and defense that the Nuggets need to go out and succeed, they will be in trouble because 4 players can't do it all. I know who's learning that story very well. Philadelphia. 3-13. for a team that I said was going to be a title contender. What a disaster. Absolute disaster. Tyrese Maxey's been solid in the 10 games he's played. He's the only one averaging over 20 a game. Joel Embiid doesn't play. Jared McCain has been solid at almost 17 a game. He'll be one of the leaders for Rookie of the Year. Paul George hasn't been healthy. The only guys who have played almost all the games that are scoring are Kelly Oubre and Jared McCain. No wonder this team sucks. They have no leadership, no health, and no wins. That's a recipe for disaster. Joel Embiid only playing 4 games. I know he's been injured, but the leadership problem within this group, it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. What is going on with this Philadelphia team? I didn't think this type of stuff was possible. But here I am at the end of the day, seeing a team with 3 of the best players in the NBA right now win 3 games. Like, that's a absurd thought. If we were talking about the team struggling at the beginning, at this team struggling at the beginning of the season, we'd be like, yeah, they'll be they'll be in a playing spot at minimum. They're currently in a tanking job right now. They're 1 win above the worst team in the NBA. They're 29th in the NBA right now in overall standings. 29th. And the only team they're ahead of is the 2 and 13 Washington Wizards. They're a half game ahead of the Wizards. Like, that's absurd. How is this possible? It shouldn't be possible. This type of stuff is insane. Philadelphia is struggling. We knew Washington was going to be bad. But going back to the West, the big team that's been struggling has been New Orleans, but I think they've dealt with some injury problems. They're 4 and 14. Also, I didn't expect that to happen. I had them in the playoffs as well. Other weird stories in the NBA right now. How about Orlando? I have to talk about them. They are 12 and 7. They are 8 and 0 at home this year. 8 and 0. Their road record's terrible. That's kind of suspect about them. 4 and 7 on the road. They're the only team in the top 5 with a below 500 away record. I mean, if you want to talk about below 500 away records, the Milwaukee Bucks are 6th in the Eastern Conference and are 1 and 6 on the road this season. You want to talk about suspect records, go to them. But for a team that's top 3, you should not be 4 and 7 on the road. You should be maybe a game or two better, but that's just nitpicking them because they're saving themselves with their undefeated home record. Orlando's been great, and I said it in the preview video. I didn't know what to expect. We expected solid play, but we didn't expect it to be this solid. Paolo Banchero, when he's played, has been great, but he's only been able to play 5 games due to injuries. The real player to step up for this team once again has been Franz Wagner, who has 23.4 points per game in 19 games played. Jared Suggs off the bench is, I don't even know if he starts or not for this team. He's 14.7, but the issue is it's the scoring for this team is really from 4 players based on the stats. 4. They only have 4 double-digit scores on this team. It's kind of worrying. That is kind of worrying. But I think as the season goes on, they'll have more people step up. They kind of need that. Like, they have Black, they have Carter Jr., like KCP has proven he can score. Jonathan Isaac's proven he can score. Cole Anthony has proven he can score. Gary Harris, I guess. Like I said, I know they're dealing with injuries, but once this team gets healthy, they're all together, this squad will be really, really dangerous. And speaking of dangerous, how about the 17 and 1 Cleveland Cavaliers, who after their loss to Boston very recently, from a week ago, they have won back to back and are set to play the Atlanta Hawks tomorrow. They are 17 and 1. Golly. How about Cleveland? And their only loss was an away loss. 7 and 1 on the road, 10 and 0 at home. They are scoring. They've averaged 123 points per game. which I told you about Orlando's struggles offensively. They only average 106. For reference, the only team that averages less points per game from Orlando in the East right now are Philadelphia. And the only other team in the league to average less than them, and the only other teams in the West to average less than Orlando's 106.4 is Portland and New Orleans. There are a couple of teams that are close, but not there. That's insane that Orlando's in the conversation because when you have a team that could score like Cleveland in your conference as well, that will be a problem. They have scoring for Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley stepping up. He has 17 a game. Jared Allen, Ty Jerome has 12.6 points per game. He's been great. Karis LeVert. This is the offense we need to be seeing. An offense like this, if you want a title contender, you need five, six, seven double-digit scores. It's a variety, not two or three players doing all the scoring. This is how it's supposed to look. And Cleveland is proving why they should be 17-1. They play an interesting one against the Hawks tomorrow. Other notable storylines in the East, there really aren't any. Only five teams at 500 or better is shocking. In the West, there are, I believe, 11. Yeah, it's 11 now because Minnesota's 8-8. If you want to look at some good games to watch out for, the NBA Cup is back. I hope we could take a look at those standings. Yes, we can. So if you look at the NBA Cup standings, um, Orlando and New York are tied at the top of Group A. They have a 1.5 game gap over Philadelphia and Brooklyn. Group B, it's all Milwaukee, and the Detroit Pistons are 2-0, which is a little uncomfortable for me. In Group C, Boston did lose a game, but and are 2-1. Um, Cleveland, Chicago are right there. In the West, I'm sorry, I'm yawning. This is too early to record a video for me. The Lakers are top of Group B. The Houston Rockets are top of the terrible Group A. And in Group C, the Warriors have already, I think, advanced to the next stage. Yeah, they clinched the division based on head-to-head. New Orleans cannot make it out of to the next round. So we already know one team that is through and one team that is eliminated. What are the NBA Cup games to watch out for tonight? There really isn't one. Rockets T-Wolves is important. Lakers Suns I think will be fun. Um, but if you look at the rest of the NBA games for the week, Knicks Mavericks I think is a game we should watch out for 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday. Thunder Warriors in the second game of that doubleheader. Then we have Thanksgiving, and then we go back to NBA Cup play on Friday. And then we get Thunder Lakers again, which that's fun. Um, but yeah, NBA Cup, everything going down. Couple of good games to watch out for. NBA's in a good spot. NHL. I'm sorry, like I said, I'm sorry not bringing the energy. It's very tiring. What's going on right now? Shout out to Tampa Bay. They put up an 8th spot on Colorado, which that's impressive. An 8th spot. Jesus. They went crazy. The Caps went crazy against the Panthers last night. And how about the first game, the first win for new Blues head coach Jim Montgomery after he got fired last week? Jim Montgomery gets sacked by the Bruins, goes to the Blues, and he gets his first win as coach of the Blues. They win 5-2 over the Rangers. The Winnipeg Jets are flying still. Their season's taking flight unlike the New York Jets because Winnipeg is 18-4 and are cruising 6 points ahead at the top of the Central Division. Other crazy storylines, I have to talk about Washington. I didn't expect this Washington team to be this relevant. I expect them to be relevant, but like about a quarter into the season, the Washington Capitals are on 29 points, are ahead of the Rangers and Islanders, and have been playing pretty solid hockey, even with Alex Ovechkin getting hurt. Let's look at the numbers for them. Their home numbers are great. Their road record is fantastic. 7-2 on the road. Their goals for is pretty solid. They lead the division in goals scored. They actually lead the East in goals scored. Um, Defensively, they are pretty solid. But if you look at the rest of the numbers, the only teams that are scoring more than the Washington Capitals are the Vegas Golden Knights and the Winnipeg Jets. Who's next? Washington. Insane. Insane. And what's kind of crazy is that even if Washington scored the most goals in the East, they aren't even top of their own division. But on the flip side, on the other half of the Eastern Conference in the Atlantic, the team that leads the division, Toronto, only has scored 64 goals. 64. If you do the math, that's 21 less than Washington, yet they lead the division. They are fourth in the division, fifth in the division in scoring. They're even behind Ottawa in goals for. And yet the Toronto Maple Leafs are 13-6-2 at 28 points, which would not be leading the Metro, and are first. Behind them are Florida, who have been struggling a little bit. They've lost four in a row. They're a team that's been struggling as of late. Um, and on the flip side, Toronto has won four in a row to get them into this position. Another team that's been hot recently has been Buffalo. They've won three straight, so shout out Buffalo, a team that we didn't know what to expect from them this season. They had the pieces last year. They collapsed. This year they're off to an okay start, 11-9-1, and they have won three in a row. Back to the Metro, Columbus have won three straight to get out of last place. The Penguins are now rock bottom. The Islanders are directly in the middle with the Rangers and Philadelphia. And New Jersey, who still has like three more games played than everyone else, remains at the top of the Metro on 32 points. Over to the west, the aforementioned Winnipeg Jets lead. The Minnesota Wild continue to be that team in second place. They have gone on a back-to-back game skid though, so that does get a little bit worrying. I did they play yesterday? I don't even. Oh yeah, they played. Well, that's right. They played Winnipeg yesterday and lost 4-1 to Winnipeg. Their next game would be on Wednesday. No, it's not. Oh yes, it is. It's Wednesday against the Red Hot Buffalo Sabres, which should be an intriguing contest. Kaprizov and company need to get back on track. It's really been, I think it's been pretty much all has it been all Kaprizov? Yeah, pretty much. Boldy though, 11-11 for him. Shout Matt Boldy. I think was it Matt Boldy? Yeah, Matt Boldy, 11-11. But they need more goals from somebody else. Besides Kaprizov and Boldy, no one else is more than six. So just something to pay attention to. Man, Kaprizov, 34 points in 20 games is absolutely crazy. So shout out Kaprizov. Um, and going back to the standings, continuing down, Dallas is in third, which is a little bit shocking. Colorado has come back to life. They did lose last time out, but have won 7 of their last 10 to propel themselves into fourth. They are ahead of the St. Louis Blues, who, like I said, have won their first game under new head coach Jim Montgomery. They are 3 points behind Colorado. Then it's Utah, Nashville, who continue to disappoint, and Chicago. In the Pacific, Vegas reigns supreme. Calgary is right there, though. Calgary, they've been a team that I didn't know. Like I said, I didn't know what to expect from them. They went on that big run last week when they won four straight against Nashville, the Isles, the Rangers, and Minnesota. But the difference was they're all home games, and they don't have a player over 20 points. The fun part is that the points have been distributed equally among like 8 players. It's more balanced than anything. Their leading goal scorer, I believe, has 7 goals. Yeah, it's Jonathan Huberdeau with 7 goals. Their next, then it's Coronato. and like 3 or 4 players with five. It's all split evenly amongst 8 players, which is insane. You don't, like I said, you do not see this very often, and it's working. Despite Nassim Kadri having a negative 11 plus minus, a lot of these players having a negative plus minus. How is this possible? I am so confused. But it's working. Whatever's working is working for them. Anderson having 5 goals, 8 assists out of the defense. Mackenzie Weegar has 9 assists to lead the team. He's tied with Andrei Kuzmenko. I believe that's who this is. Is it Andrei Yep, Andrei Kuzmenko, who has 1 goal, 9 assists to go also be part of that 10-point group. But man, it's a weird team, Calgary. I don't know how sustainable this is going to be, but they've won 4 in a row before losing to Ottawa yesterday, or very recently. So yeah, I mean, Calgary's in an okay spot. Like I said, they just lost recently. LA's in third. Edmonton's just still trying to find their ground a little bit. They're in fourth. Vancouver, Seattle, Anaheim, and San Jose, pretty much, other than Vancouver, kind of what we've been expecting out of the bottom three. But the NHL's been weird. The NBA has been kind of chaotic. If you want to find a game to watch out for, with the holidays coming up, Wednesday you have Rangers Hurricanes. I think that game's gonna be exciting. You have the battle of disappointments with the Bruins and the Islanders. Um, that's pretty much it for that. Oh, and the um, Kings are playing the Jets on Wednesday night. Friday, couple of interesting matchups. The Caps are playing the Isle. Panthers Hurricanes is also pretty good. Jets Golden Knights. The Jets are playing a very weird, interesting schedule, having to play the Golden Knights as well, and the Kings this week on Wednesday and Friday. Um, and then that's pretty much all the good matchups. And then you have the Hurricanes and the Panthers on Saturday. That's right. So, and then you have Jets start. The Jets are in a lot of big games. They play the Dallas Stars on Sunday. So a very interesting stretch for a 14-4 Winnipeg Jets team that we'll definitely have to watch out for this week. To Formula One, which is where we'll be heading next, and we have another season pretty much wrapped up. The Drivers' Championship has been determined, and newly 4-time world champion Max Verstappen. He won it in the best car. He's now won it in a subpar car. And when they needed him most, he went out and delivered. That's the best way you can put it. He didn't qualify great. He didn't do a lot of stuff fantastically on Saturday night. Didn't do anything spectacular. He did enough, and enough was to get him the Drivers' Championship. He clinched it by 1 point, by over 1 point over the minimum required points to have the minimum gap over Lando to win the trophy because of the Danny Rick fastest lap in Singapore. If you think about it that way. But yeah, big result. Shout out to Max. Four-time world, 4 consecutive championships. We haven't seen that since Sebastian Vettel back in 2010 to 2013, also with Red Bull, by the way. So the theme of having like one champion over a long period of time continues. But this Formula One season, as it's soon to be wrapping up in the next couple of weeks, we'll preview the next race in Qatar in a moment. The season we've had has been nothing short of spectacular. Various race winners, various teams going crazy, and a wide variety of storylines. That's what you're hoping for in Formula One. Last year was Max wins, and again, and again, and again. Now it's, like when you wake up and watch the highlights, you're like, oh, look at Carlos go crazy. Oh, look at Charles Leclerc dive down the inside. Oh, look, Perez crashed again. Oh, look, Lando actually didn't bottle a race. Oh, wait, then he does bottle the race. Oh, look, Piastri won his first career actual race. Oh, look at Russell. Oh, wait, his car was underweight, so Hamilton wins. Hamilton wins at Silverstone. Then Russell wins in Vegas. Like this season has been fantastic. I I hate to see it wrap up in a couple of weeks, and I might stream that race because that race in 2 weeks, a week from Sunday is going to make people cry, and we'll explain the significance of that race very soon. Back to our race though, in Las Vegas. Overtakes, ton of overtaking, a lot of chaos in the midfield. Charles Leclerc bottled the strategy off the rip because he was pushing too hard on the medium tires. Apparently, and Martin Brundle said as well, as did Crofty on commentary, the tires don't last very long there. And it's very true on a street track like Las Vegas. And yeah, Leclerc pushed too hard and ruined his race. Also, what was weird was that Ferrari said to not fight the Ferraris not to go at each other, and then Carlos immediately dove down the inside of Leclerc. I thought that was pretty weird. Um, but nonetheless, that Sainz third, Leclerc fourth. Verstappen got fifth and won the championship ahead of Lando Norris. Piastri, Hulkenberg, Sonoda, and Sergio Perez rounded out the top 10. Um, Unlucky day for Pierre Gasly, who qualified like third, but did not get to see the end due to losing power. And Albon also was out due to car mechanical issues as well. Well, who are the biggest? What was the other big story from this week? George Russell wins again. Mercedes are back. Well, Lewis Hamilton qualifies 10th, gets driver of the day after finishing second. And well, LH, I could tell you was when he was on the radio during the race, was like, why did we pit so early? Why did we pit at this time? But Bono and the crew at Mercedes nailed the strategies. They nailed everything other than Lewis getting the win. He finished 7 seconds behind George. But a great drive from George Russell and a great drive from Hamilton, just getting past cars left and right. You look at Mercedes at times was so fast, and they were able to finish ahead of the Ferraris, ahead of the Red Bulls to keep themselves well, to keep themselves. They're going to finish fourth in the team standings this season. But it throws another monkey wrench into the constructor standings. McLaren still lead. They lead by about 24 points. And then 29 points behind Ferrari are the Red Bulls. To think Red Bull's going to won the drivers title again, and are going to might finish third in the constructors is beyond me. And it begs your question, why hasn't Sergio Perez been canned? Sponsors and the buyout. That's why it is the way it is. It sucks, I think, as a fan to see Red Bull struggle, and I think if Red Bull had another competent driver, one that could keep up with Max, a younger driver that can keep up with Max, they'd be flying. I think that driver should have been Liam Lawson, but what do I know, apparently. But what I do know is that F1 is expanding. That is right, guys. F1 is expanding. They are adding an 11th team to the grid. Please welcome the new team, General Motors. Or Cal. What is this team going to be called? I don't even know what they're called at this point. Let's call them General Motors for now. An 11th team is set to join the Formula One grid in 2026. With the new regulations, the new everything. What are my thoughts on this? I'm still very mixed. I was going to post about it on my story, but on Instagram, make sure you go follow me, handle in the description. I was very mixed because some of the tracks, if you add more cars, with the way the F1 cars are built, are not drivable. And the track, you know what I'm thinking of. The Monaco Grand Prix just got significantly worse. Every bit about it got worse. They, yes, I think it's great that they can add more drivers. There's so much talent that's still out there that can drive in Formula One, from the old experienced drivers to the new age of the youth with how much talent's still out there. Being a gateway to opportunity, I think is great that General Motors and Cadillac, whatever the hell they're called, is entering Formula One. But it ruins some of the tracks, and I just don't know if it's how it's going to look. And that's the part that worries me. Because you could claim it looks so great, but it looks so bad. That's like the way to look at this. Because when you have more cars on the grid, yes, there could be more fights, but the tracks could become more congested. Look at Vegas, for example. Like when you go down the start of the race, two of the cars are in a turn. If you're 21st to 22nd, you're going to be in the middle of a corner. That just doesn't seem right. And some of these tracks, it's not going to be as fun. The Monaco Grand Prix is going to get worse. I think for the smaller tracks, the races are going to get worse. I think Austria is going to get worse, especially how many back markers there are at some points in the race. I think that race is going to get significantly worse. Austria. I think it's possible. Look, we haven't seen really what the regulate. We have to dive more into what the regulations will look like. But I'm just mixed because it's cool that they're adding more opportunity to drivers, but how will it affect the racing, the quality of the sport? That's what I'm worried. I think it makes sense in the long run to add an 11th team, but I just don't know if it's going to work. I don't know. But the current tracks and the current way the schedule is, I just don't know. But shout out to GM, General Motors, for being able to become a Formula One team in 2026. Should be fun. And I think it will be a very intriguing situation. Quickly, like I said, we're going to go over the brief storylines from the Premier League this weekend. We'll rattle through the scores just to get it done. We're definitely going to talk about these more on Friday. If we even do a video on Friday, that's kind of why I'm doing this now, because I don't know if there will be a video Friday. Chelsea beat Leicester. Wolves beat Fulham 4-1. Everton and Brentford drew 0-0. Pretty standard stuff from them. Brighton beat Bournemouth, courtesy of uh of big saves down the stretch from Brighton. They were able to hold on and get a result. Arsenal did what I was hoping they would. They went out and beat up, did not get lost in the forest. They went out and beat Nottingham 3-0. Villa and Palace drew, which I think is a little bit uncomfortable for Villa. Because the fact that they went 2-1 down at the end of the first half is like a little bit worrying. And they needed Ross Barkley to equal. This is a weird match. The fact that they drew at Villa Park is kind of crazy. They've been not great, that Villa squad. Ipswich Town goes out and draws Ruben Amorim's Manchester United 1-1, just like I said it on Friday. So I call that result. Liverpool went out and because of a late penalty, with Mo Salah, Liverpool goes out and beats Southampton 3-2. Sorry, Aaron Ramsdale. I feel it wasn't even Aaron Ramsdale, it was this guy, McCarthy. The only reason they lost because I didn't have Ramsdale. I'll say it right now. They need Ramsdale, my GOAT. They need my GOAT in goal. I'm still sad about it. I don't know why. because I loved Aaron Ramsdale as like my goalkeeper. Other weird stuff that happened. West Ham went out and won on the road at Newcastle, courtesy of Tomas Suchek and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Okay. Finally, we had Man City. Oh, what a glorious day. It feels to me, as a football fan, as a fan of a team in the Premier League, every time Man City goes out and loses, it's a good day. They went out and lost 4-0 to Tottenham, which makes it, I don't like Tottenham, but if anyone goes out and beat Manchester City 4-0, you got my respect for at least for a little bit. James Madison, clinic. Pedro Porro, phenomenal. He had a goal and was very impactful in the match. And of course, Brendan Johnson's goal at the end. When you look back on what happened, you wouldn't have believed the result if I said it was going to be 4-0. Midfield, bad. The attack, bad. The fact that they got outplayed by midfielders is kind of absurd. Brennan Johnson came off the bench, scored. Congratulations, son. And the fact that Kyle Walker at some point is getting destroyed by Timo Werner is even more insane because he came in for, I believe, human Madison and was killing it down the left side. Uh, Good game from a lot of solid players. And the weirdest part was does not have either of their two center backs starting. They had Dragusin and Ben Davies, and they destroyed Man City 4-0. The only worry for them is that Vicario is I think getting surgery now. So I don't know if they're gonna have to start other backup keeper. I don't know what the deal is. But if you look at the injuries to Spurs, they'll have Van de Ven and Romero come back in December, but Spurs deserve a shout. Going on winning 4-0 with no center backs, no good enough center backs is pretty impressive. They play in the Europa League against Roma, a very disappointing Roma team. So I think they'll be okay for now. Then they play Sunday against Fulham. They play Bournemouth in the middle of next week. And then when everyone gets healthy, hopefully, that's when they play Chelsea. So if Tottenham's fully healthy into Chelsea, I think they'll be in a much better position, obviously. And they'll make that game so much different. Because Chelsea went out when they played an injured Arsenal and they destroyed the back line for half the match. A fully healthy Tottenham back line would cost Chelsea a ton of problems. I'll be very intrigued to see if that happens or not. But we still got to wait a couple of weeks before we see that contest on December 8th. But man, Premier League was nuts. A lot of crazy results. We'll take a look at the standings and also take a look at my predictions on how accurate I'm doing. I know I'm 3 for 20, which is better than last year, which you're probably saying, how are you 3 for 20 on your season prediction? It's tough, all right. I know my flop of the season is doing flop of the season numbers, I believe. I think Dewsbury Hall is like 2 goals. Um, but I know my signing of the season's been injured all year. Sorry, Nicholas Füllkrug. I might have cursed you. Um, but the only teams I have right now are Southampton, Wolves, and Man City. The worst pick has to be Manchester United. I have them in third, and they're currently in 12th. And a baby. On 16 points with a 0 goal difference. By the way, I gotta bring this up. How the hell is there 5 teams next to each other, all with the 0 goal difference? Like, what? So Brentford is turning into the Bolivia of this league. They can score and can't defend. 22 goals to 22 goals in 12 matches. Ridiculous. But if you look at the standings, Liverpool are comfortably up top. They've won 10 of their first 12, including a draw against Arsenal. They're ahead of eight points clear of City. Those two, I believe, face off next week. which will definitely be a match we talk about for next Sunday. We have Chelsea and then Arsenal tied on 22 points. Joining them is the Seagulls of Brighton. They're in fifth. Then Tottenham, Nottingham, and Aston Villa on 19 points. Fulham and Newcastle on 18. Into the bottom half, you've Brentford on 17, then Manchester United. Bournemouth and West Ham tied on 15. Then you go down to 11 points with Everton, then 10 points with Leicester, 9 points for Wolves and Ipswich. Then you have Crystal Palace on 8 and Southampton on 4, because Southampton has the reverse record of Liverpool. So the Premier League has been terrible for some clubs and disappointing, surprising for multiple teams still. Finally, let's go over the UCL matches for today and tomorrow. Starting us off, match will definitely be in progress when we're posting this video. AC Milan taking on Slovan Bratislava. Atletico Madrid goes to Sparta Praha. Man City hosts Feyenoord. That's gonna be a very weird match. You've Barcelona facing off against the red hot in the Champions League at least. Stade Brestois. Uh, Bayern PSG, which is gonna be insanity. Inter against Leipzig. Young Boys Atalanta, Salzburg against Leverkusen, and Arsenal against Sporting. What are the matches to watch out for today? I think there's two main ones. You go out with Bayern against PSG, two of the big teams in the world. Like if you talk about biggest clubs in the world, you think of Bayern and you think of PSG. Now they get to face off in the Allianz Arena with some of the better players in the game, and it will be absolutely insanity. I think this game will be fun. If you look at the projected lineups, I think Upamecano could cause some problems to Marcus Asensio, but I just don't know. I think João Neves and Bradley Barcola down the left could cause some problems. They'll be going up against, I believe, Elise. Sorry, against probably Limer. I don't even know. Maybe Davies. Who knows? Oh no, there's a different Davies on Tottenham. I just realized that now. But back to this. I think, like I said, Neves and Barcola are going to cause problems down the left. Off the right hand side, they have Warren Zaire-Emery at right center mid, and ahead of him is Ousmane Dembele. That will be fun. And in the middle with Vitinha and playing as deeper, with Asensio dropping back more, I think could really work for PSG. The 4-2-3-1 projected lineup for Bayern Munich, if they play how they could with the playmaking of Goretzka and Kimmich, Jamal Musiala at the 10, I think is fantastic. Kingsley Coman, Michael Olise has been phenomenal. I said it during the transfer window. Whoever gets Michael Olise is going to get a gem. And Dylan said the same thing when he came on my video. 5 goals, 2 assists in the Bundesliga. Um, I mean, you can't really do that much with Harry Kane scoring all the goals, but an absolutely phenomenal start for the 22-year-old Michael Olise. He's been great. The only worries right now for Bayern injury-wise, they don't have Palhinha. It should be fun to watch out for. Listen, I just gotta say this right now. Why is this like the battle of the Portuguese? Like, because they one side would have had Palhinha, we have João Neves. What are my other Portuguese players? There has to be more. I thought they had more Portuguese players. Um, but Bayern and PSG have met on 13 previous occasions in the Champions League, with this being the most played fixture between German and French teams. Makes sense. They're both of the biggest clubs. Bayern has won the last three. I say this is a draw. I think PSG could cause a ton of problems. I think Harry Kane will score, but the responses from PSG is what's going to be the big key in this game. I think they do get a goal. I think they get two. Give me a 2-all draw in this game. I think it'll be fun. This game's just going to be chaos, and that's what I'm hoping for. Other matches to watch out for, I'd say Man City, Feyenoord. Must-win game for Man City. They have to get back on track ahead of a big game against Liverpool. We'll talk about Liverpool's game with Real Madrid in a minute. But if you want an underrated game, it's not really underrated, but Barca against Stade Brestois. Brestois have been phenomenal in the Champions League, but have been terrible in Ligue 1. I'm interested to see if they keep that up against Hansi Flick's Barcelona team. I have Barcelona winning the game 3-1. Barcelona are going to score. They're only going to concede one. I think they'll be fine. Young boys Atalanta, I think could be fun, but Arsenal facing off against Sporting, with Sporting not having Admar, is going to be really interesting as well. I'm interested to see how Arsenal line up in that match. They've been injured, but were able to score against, able to find their goal scoring form back after the international window, winning 3-0 against Nottingham. So I think they'll be in a much better position. I have Arsenal winning away to Sporting 1-0. I think that'll be a very uncomfortable match for Arsenal, but I think a 1-0, it's only going to be 1-0, I believe, but we'll see how that match plays out. Tomorrow we have some interesting ones. We got Red Star or Cervena Zvezda. I think that's how you say it. I'm not really good with the Serbian teams. Hosting Stuttgart, Sturm Graz. They are hosting Girona, Ast Ast Aston Villa. Wow, trying to continue the Italian stuff. Aston Villa hosts Juventus, Monaco and Benfica, PSV and Shakhtar Donetsk, Liverpool, Real Madrid, Celtic Club Brugge, Bologna against Lille, and Dinamo Zagreb against Dortmund. There's only two matches you really have to watch. Three, really. Monaco Benfica, I think it has a chance to be great. Monaco's in third. Benfica, I don't even know where they are. Benfica's in 19th, but Benfica's had a really tough schedule. They've also been pretty disappointing in the Champions League. If I mean, it's Benfica in the Champions League. You'd expect a lot more. They beat Atletico Madrid, which is like miraculous. They beat Red Star. They beat whatever the Atletico Madrid. They did just lose 1-0 to Bayern. So you still have a lot of hope for them, but like it wasn't great. They beat Red Star, they beat Atletico Madrid, they lost to Feyenoord at home, which is why I said this could be problems for City earlier. And now you have to play a Monaco team in France. That's a pretty uncomfortable game. Give me Monaco because they've won 3 of 4, and they are one of the 6 unbeaten teams left in this thing. Give me Monaco 1-0. I think Benfica will continue to struggle. Give me Monaco in that game. We have Aston Villa and Juventus. Aston Villa at Villa Park have been pretty good, but they did just drop points to Crystal Palace of all people. So I think they'll be okay. I got Juventus winning this game 2-1. I think Ollie Watkins scores for Aston Villa, but Juventus I think is able to respond so much better. What's gonna be fun is Ezri Konsa will return apparently for this Champions League game tomorrow on Boubacar Kamara. But Amadou Onana is unavailable per source. So I think it's gonna be 2-1. Unai Emery's team can find a way to score, but I just don't think they can stop this Juventus attack. Juventus have been really good in Serie A this season. I mean, they're in sixth and they're playing well, which is what you're hoping for. They went out and played a 0-0 on Saturday against AC Milan, but they can find a way to grab goals when they really need to. They did play a 4-4 against Inter a couple of months ago, which I thought was insanity, but they have struggled in the Champions League, particularly with red cards. So I think that could be a possible problem. They did lose to Stuttgart because they had a red card. They drew Lille. They did beat Leipzig and they got kind of lucky. So with the run of English teams that they have to face in the Champions League, starting with Villa, then playing Man City at home, this kind of has to be is a much more of a must-win game for Juventus than you think it is, because I don't think they want to go into having to play Man City and have to beat Man City. But honestly, who knows? I do have Juventus winning that game 1-0 though. I think they'll, sorry, 2-1. Sorry, 2-1. I was reading the wrong thing. 2-1 is my score. I have it on my sheet here. I have 2-1 Juventus. I think they win this game at Villa Park. And finally, you already know what the other game is. You already know. Do I even need to say it? I'm saying the teams. It's Liverpool, Real Madrid. Liverpool, unbeaten in the Champions League. They're playing a Real Madrid side that's been struggling in all competitions a little bit. Haven't been able to click as much as we thought they would. They did just win back-to-back games against Osasuna and Leganes. The issue for them, they've had struggles in comparison to like Barcelona with scoring goals. Barcelona's got 42. Real Madrid, who has so much various goal scoring talent, only has 28 goals, which is still good in 13 matches. They still have a match less played. They're not in a bad spot. And the Osasuna win is more significant than you think it is because Osasuna is in sixth. They haven't beat no-name teams entering this match. Not at all. The question for me is the Liverpool lineup because Liverpool gets City this weekend. Do you rotate and then get ready to go for City? Because if you beat City, you'll be 9 points clear of Arsenal and Chelsea. Because Arsenal next weekend, I don't even remember who they play. If you go back to the Premier League for just for a moment and what's going on next weekend, Arsenal's playing West Ham, which is a trap game for them. Chelsea's playing Villa, which is going to be a clinic of struggle, a clinical struggle. This is a match where you could really take advantage. It's also a weekend where the team in second could be Brighton after Liverpool, if Liverpool wins. I think Liverpool, there's a shot that Liverpool prioritizes the Man City game and rotates for this Real Madrid match. Because of that possibility, I have Real Madrid winning this 2-0. I think Liverpool, if they rotate, it'll be 2-0. If they don't rotate, I think it's a draw. I don't think anyone wins this game. I think if there was a team to win this matchup, Arne Slot's crew, they've been resilient, but they're facing the best team in the world, I believe, in Real Madrid on paper. I'd have Real Madrid secure at least a point at Anfield, and it'll be a phenomenal match as well. But the Premier League, everything is kicking up, and that's what you've been hoping for. The Champions League's kicking up. All of the teams, they're all doing their thing. Quickly to the NFL. I know I'm taking too long. You know what? We'll save the NFL for the next video. That'll be all of today's edition of the Robbie Basel Show. NFL will save for next time. Real quick though, shout out to Saquon Barkley, over 300 scrimmage yards. He killed it. Ravens beat the Chargers last night in a phenomenal matchup, which saved my fantasy week, by the way. Derrick Henry killed it on the ground as well. Nightcaps featured the running backs. They were fantastic, and everything is pure chaos in the NFL. Also, real quick, make sure to enjoy the Thanksgiving football games. We'll pick them real quick. I have the Lions beating the Bears. Give me Dallas over the Giants. And I think I'm falling in love with the Packers. I'm falling in love with the way they've been playing behind Jordan Love. So give me the Packers over Tua Tagovailoa in a pretty close game against the Dolphins. It's going to be fun. Enjoy your weekend of sports. We'll talk more about all of the other sports and on next time's edition of the Robbie Basel Show. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit the like button and subscribe. Once again, I'm Robbie Basel saying so long. See you guys next time. Goodbye, everyone.